Have you ever wondered, why is it that when you change, some people start to feel uneasy, even irritated? It's not when you're struggling or feeling weak, but precisely at the moment when you begin to rise, to redefine yourself, that these people, especially those with narcissistic tendencies, begin to react. They aren't just surprised, they panic, because their entire world is built upon your compliance, your shrinking yourself to keep the peace. In their eyes, you have a role to play. And that role is the one who yields, the one who always nods, who always forgives. But when you start rewriting your own script, when you stand up, hold your head high and say, I deserve better than this, the whole castle they've built on illusions starts to crumble. In today's video, we'll pull back the curtain on narcissists, how they manipulate, how they distort reality, and most importantly, how you can break free and rebuild yourself stronger, freer. This isn't just another psychological analysis video. It's a deep reminder that you have the right to step away from relationships that drain you. If you've ever felt lost, doubted your own feelings, or even failed to recognize yourself in the mirror, I invite you to stay with me until the end of this video. I believe what you're about to hear might just be the first step in coming back home to yourself, whole and complete. And don't forget to hit subscribe so we can continue this journey of discovery and healing together. Because sometimes just one small change, one new perspective is enough to reignite an entire soul. A relationship with a narcissist always begins like a dream. This is the first stage. Idealization. They enter your life as if they were the person you've been waiting for all along. They understand you, they listen to you, they shower you with praise. Every boundary you set, they respect. Every insecurity you share, they listen and soothe. They even make you feel like the most special person in the world. This is their first tactic, love bombing, an overwhelming flood of affection coming at you so fast that you don't have time to put up your guard. But notice, this perfection doesn't last. Once you begin to trust, to lower your defenses, to offer your vulnerability, that's when the real game begins. The next phase, devaluation. Those words of praise now turn into jabs. Hurtful comments disguised as, just kidding, or why are you so sensitive? From someone cherished, you slowly become someone who feels the need to prove their worth. They create a sense that you're no longer good enough. But they never say it outright, so you're left doubting yourself. And here's the most insidious part. The narcissist doesn't just let you fall. They mix in moments of cruelty with flashes of sweetness, keeping you clinging to the hope that the wonderful person you first met is still there, just temporarily tired, stressed, or hurting. This back and forth between love and harm traps you in an emotional cycle, like a boat drifting between waves of affection and storms of criticism. Next comes the most dangerous stage, confusion and dependency. This is when you start asking yourself, is it me? The psychological manipulation, gaslighting begins to creep in. When you react, they deny reality. I never said that. You're too sensitive. You're imagining things. And then you start to believe that maybe you really are wrong, that your emotions aren't trustworthy. You stop believing in yourself. Why does the narcissist do this? Because they cannot face the fragile core within themselves. They build a masking image of perfection, power, and control, but deep down they are wounded children, terrified of abandonment, terrified of the truth about themselves. And to protect that mask, they have to turn you into a distorted mirror, so you reflect back the image they want to see. The winner, the one in control, the one holding power. When they sense you're about to leave, they immediately switch tactics. They return to affection, tears, pleading, promising to change. They might pull at your compassion with tearful stories about their painful past. But remember, they do not change. They only adjust their strategy. This relationship can drag on for months, even years, a repeating cycle, idealization, devaluation, confusion, back to idealization, and the loop tightens around you to the point where even after deep hurt, you still wonder, maybe I'm just not good enough. There is a painful truth that must be acknowledged. Narcissists do not love you in the way you think. What they love is the feeling of control, being the center of the universe, while you, like a satellite, revolve around them, enduring, yielding, sacrificing. They love the role you play in the story they've created, not the real you. From the very beginning, they observed you more closely than you realized. They saw your kindness, your empathy, your patience, and silently thought, I could control this person. But what makes it even more cruel is this. They never expect you to change. That's the core of their game. They bet that you will always remain the same, kind, understanding, ready to forgive, ready to shrink yourself to keep the peace. And little by little, they test your limits. A cruel remark, hidden behind laughter, a forgotten promise, a subtle blame that makes you question yourself. At first, you may respond, but over time, you learn to stay silent. So you tell yourself, it's not worth arguing, or maybe they're just stressed. And that's when the invisible wall is built, a psychological prison you don't even realize you're in. You see, narcissistic victims aren't trapped by iron chains, but by guilt, self-doubt, and fear breaking the fragile peace, the false stability that the narcissist is so cleverly crafted. But at some point, when the quiet pain has built up too long, when the lies become too obvious, you begin to change. Maybe it starts with just one small boundary. You refuse an unreasonable request. You say no to something that drains you. And what happens? They panic. Their entire illusionary castle starts to shake, because even the smallest change from you is a massive threat to them. They cannot control someone who is waking up. When you begin to demand respect, when you dare to say that your feelings matter too, you're not just breaking a habit. You're tearing down the entire manipulative system they've worked so hard to build. And the painful truth is, in that moment, you're not just facing them, you're facing your own fears. The fear of breaking the false peace, the fear of standing alone. But it's precisely in that moment that you begin to reclaim your story. You are no longer a supporting role in someone else's play. You start becoming the main character in your own life. But awakening is never easy. Escaping the manipulative grip of a narcissist is like stepping out of a thick fog. At first, you can only vaguely sense what's happening. Then gradually, everything comes into sharp, sometimes brutal focus. You start to realize that all this time, you haven't truly been living for yourself. Every time you stayed silent to keep the peace, every time you forgave things that should never have been forgiven, you cut away a small piece of yourself. And then one day you look back and no longer recognize the person in the mirror. The greatest pain isn't the hurt they cause, it's the betrayal of yourself. It's the fact that you stayed too long, trusted too much, hoped that someday they would change, that they would understand how sincere your love truly was. But the truth is, they never needed you to change them. They only needed you to stay. They needed you to keep replaying the same old cycles, forgive, yield, sacrifice, so they could maintain their illusion of superiority, of control. When you start breaking that, they don't react because they love you. They react because they fear losing their emotional supply, the fuel they used to feed their wounded ego. The more you pull back, the more they move in. They might become sweet again, remorseful, promise to change. But remember, this is not healing. It's a strategy, a way to pull you back into your old role, to make you believe things will get better if you just endure a little longer. But deep down, you know, one more time is the trap. How many one more times have you already lived through? How many times have you forgiven, hoped, only to find yourself back in the same loop? That's not love, it's control. And then comes the moment you realize you don't need to break them, you just need to break your own cycle. You don't need to shout, don't need to prove who's right or wrong. You just need to step off the stage they've built, where you've always been the actor and they've been the director. And when you do that, when you dare to walk away, the air shifts. They feel that change more deeply than any words you've ever spoken. Because now, you're no longer playing a role, you're living your truth. One of the most insidious tactics of a narcissist is sabotaging your support network. Family, friends, colleagues, the very people who could help you see the truth. Because they know that as long as you are nurtured by healthy relationships, you have the power to awaken from their manipulation game. And they cannot allow that to happen. They begin with soft, subtle whispers. I think your friend A seems a bit jealous of you, or your mother is always interfering in our relationship. It's not healthy. They plant seeds of doubt in your mind and slowly nurture them. At first you resist, but over time you begin to question the people who were once your emotional anchors. Narcissists are also masters of playing the victim. They twist stories about you to others. I've tried everything, but she's never satisfied. Or he's always so angry for no reason. They reshape your image in the eyes of those around you, so that when you finally speak your truth, no one believes you. This is known as a smear campaign, and it works because it happens slowly, silently, and strategically. Once they've isolated you, you begin to rely solely on them, the very person causing your pain. You lose your grounding, you lose other mirrors to reflect reality, and their version of the truth becomes your truth. Leaving is the first step, but healing is the longer journey, one that requires even more courage. Because you are not just leaving a person, you are leaving behind a version of yourself the version that endured, that hoped, that loved wholeheartedly. Step 1, cut off all contact. No messages, no calls, no sneaky checking up on them through social media. Because every time you leave a crack open, they will find a way to slip back in. A message, a fake show of concern, to pull you back into the old cycle. If total separation isn't possible, for example, if you share children, set clear boundaries, communicate only about essential matters, never delve into emotions. Step 2, rebuild your support network. Return to healthy relationships. Don't hesitate to share your story with someone trustworthy, a friend, a family member, or a therapist, because isolation is what makes it easy for you to fall back into old patterns. Let others remind you that your feelings are valid, that what you've been through is serious and deserving of healing. Step 3, rewrite your own story. Victims of manipulation often lose their voice. Writing it back, whether through journaling, meditation, or any form of creative expression, helps you regain control over the narrative of your life. You are no longer a supporting character in someone else's script. You are the author. Step 4, educate yourself about manipulation and narcissism. Knowledge is the light that illuminates even the darkest corners. When you understand manipulative strategies, when you grasp the psychological mechanisms of narcissists, you lessen the guilt and self-blame. You realize, it wasn't my fault, I was just caught in their game. Step 5, reconnect with your body and emotions. Narcissists don't just manipulate your mind. They sever the connection between you and your true emotions. Take time for activities that help you tune back into your body. Yoga, meditation, walks in nature, painting, dancing. These small acts help you feel yourself again, whole and worthy. In the end, the one thing a narcissist can never predict, the thing that confuses and devastates them more than anything, is your change. They bet on you always being compliant, always living in the loop of unconditional forgiveness. But then you wake up. You dare to break the script they worked so hard to write. You reclaim ownership of your story. And remember, their desperation now isn't because they love you, it's because they've lost control over you. They've lost the role they manipulated you into playing. This is a battle between truth and illusion, between your freedom and the collapse of their mask. So, if you are on this journey or just beginning to sense that something is off, stay strong. Your change isn't just a personal act. It is a declaration that you will no longer live in someone else's shadow. And that is more powerful than any words. If you see yourself in what has been shared, or if you're on the path of breaking free from narcissistic cycles, don't forget to follow this channel to continue walking this journey with me. There is so much more to explore, to heal, and you are not alone. Hold firm to your boundaries. Protect the freedom of your soul. The narcissist was never prepared for that, but you are ready.